Hi, I'm Joy from Afternoons with Carlos and Joy on Way FM, and we are kicking off the world's biggest small group today from my porch. And we are reading about Palm Sunday in Mark 11. And I love the Palm Sunday verses because they're so exciting. These people are lining the streets, they've got palm fronds, they're throwing their cloaks down, and Jesus and the donkey are walking over them as people are yelling, "Praise him." It's this beautiful scene of people just glorifying Jesus. But the hard part is that we know the end of the story. So we know that just a few days later, this is like foreshadowing for those same people lining the same streets, Jesus walking down the center, and they're yelling things once again. But this time, instead of yelling praise him, they're yelling crucify him. And it's hard for me to think, how did they go from this on Palm Sunday to yelling crucify him in just a couple of days? But I think at the basis of it, it's because their expectations were not met. These people wanted a military tyrant to come in to rescue them, to save them in a military sense. They thought, okay, they're going to overthrow the Romans. We won't be in oppression anymore. But that wasn't God's plan. It was so much bigger than that, but they couldn't see it or understand it. And that applies to me. There are so many times that I've had expectations on God, on what he should do in my life, or even how the Christian life is supposed to look and be. And I always think it's supposed to be easier than it really is. I don't think these people realized the hardships that are involved with following Jesus. The disciples learned after his death how difficult it was going to be. They went through persecution, but the Christian life is going to be difficult. Our expectations are not always going to be met because we can't see the big picture. We're just a piece of that puzzle in which God is doing incredible things around us in our life. And this really made me think about some verses in James 1, 2 through 3, some of my favorite verses. So the difficult things that we face that test us, that make us question things, we're to consider those joy, consider those good, because they make us grow. They make us learn how to persevere. And that's something that I'm trying to take with me into this Easter week. The difficulties that God went through, he's showing us how these really difficult moments, they make up what our faith is, but they also help us to grow and help us to learn. But more than that, expectations in my life, I have to keep those in check. Because I realize that when I'm putting expectations on God of what he should be doing in my life, that's me telling him how to serve me. And that's sort of inverting the relationship that we're supposed to have. Instead of me serving God and following him, I'm asking him to do that for me. And that's not the way that it's supposed to be. So this Easter week, I'm trying to keep in check, what are my expectations? And am I processing that the Christian life is going to be hard, but it's going to be so worth it?